love. The meaning for this is that we are free and we have the freedom to choose and to love. It's persistence in love. And thanks to HCI for
Okay, thank you very much, Nathan, for that amazing song. I'm not sure if you did say, can you give us the name of the song again, and also where we can find the song?
The name of the song is Persistence in Love.
Okay. Find it?
You'll be able to find it on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Nathan, for that song. Of course, you can find the song Persistence in Love by Nathan on YouTube. So thank you very much, Nathan. All the best for what comes up next. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the HI Foundation Freedom Day Conversation. Nathan is just trying again to exit. So we might see him moving around and so forth. Apologies for that. So we are also trying to wait for more people to join us on. But basically today, this is a conversation where we are about to talk about actually what is freedom, what does freedom mean, and also actually what do we do with freedom, also how do you make sure that we protect the freedoms that we have, how do we use freedom to build our country, also at the same time actually to also free others who might not be free. That is again an assumption. Also, what does it mean to be free? So we'll be having conversation around that, and also we have young people on the call, people that actually are part or have been part of the HSI Foundation Bursary Program, just like Nathan, who was part of the HSI. Actually, Nathan is currently one of the Bursary recipients this year, studying at UCT. So we'll be having a conversation today. But as part of just us waiting, I'll just like to go around. We start from Bansundu, and then we go to Gentle and go to Bongani. Just introduce yourself. Who are you? How come you're here? And also maybe what can we expect from this conversation today?
Hello, as mentioned, my name is Bansundu, CPUT alumni, currently working for a company in Joburg called Group Advisory. The reason here today is just to bring back the conversation about what freedom is, especially as young people who live in this country, where sometimes we feel like our voices are not heard. So I feel this is a great initiative for us as young people to be out there, to say what we have on our minds, more than just on what we do on the Twitter and the Facebook, just to be out there to show people we have a voice. So I think that's one of the things we could expect to. They're just young people, just showing that we do have a voice. So yeah, that's it from our side.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jontia Iramukunda, and I am a marketing graduate for Nelson Mandela University. Now, today, basically, we're going to be dissecting this big topic that is freedom. Where do we come from? Where we're heading? And what can we do to improve and actually preserve it in the long run? So please tune in. You're going to hear very different perspectives, but very, very enlightening.
Good day, everyone. My name is Bongani Mbelekana, and I'm an alumni of the University of the Western Cape. I did my undergrad there, specializing in geography, history, and political sciences. I also did anthropology. Currently, I'm at the University of Cape Town. Today we'll be engaging with the discourse of freedom, discourse of liberation, and what does it mean to us as young African people who find ourselves at the periphery of this so-called rainbow nation that we cannot identify with it. But let me not go further. We'll go when we engage with the discourse.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you are watching us on Facebook, can you just indicate on the comment box that you are here, and also maybe indicate where are you tuning from? Are you tuning from live in Cape Town, in Zimbabwe, or in Khayelitsha, or in Camps Bay? Just indicate that, hi, I'm Bansundu, following this conversation from Khayelitsha or in Gqeberha, wherever you are tuning from, so that we can see that actually people are following the conversation. And also remember, you can also pose questions in the chat room for our speakers as we engage in the conversation. So my role today is just to perhaps facilitate a conversation, but I won't speak much more than the panelists themselves who are going to share their thoughts. And also I just want to place it on the record that actually all views that are expressed in this conversation are of the individuals that express them, but not of HSI Foundation. And also ours is to provide the platform for young people to engage. Because again, now we know that actually how people view freedom, older generation, how they view freedom is different from how younger people view freedom. So now today we also want to bring a voice of young people to hear their interpretation of what freedom is, and also we also know that actually freedom means many things for different people, depending on your context, where you are, who you are, all those kind of identities that we embody do also help us interpret what freedom is. So today we're going to use this platform to discuss, but also to shed some light. So therefore, what we need to do going forward to make sure that actually this freedom that we enjoy today, we preserve it, and also actually we nurture it and we grow it. And also we bring even others who might still be not free, you know, because also there's that question around, are you free in your mind, in the way that you think, in the way that you do things? So how do we unfree our minds at the same time? So there are many questions that we have, but of course we won't get to all those kind of questions. This is a beginning of the conversation. But again, a big question that I think a better place to start from is the fact that, okay, actually, what does freedom mean? You know, what does freedom mean broadly as freedom? I'll be happy if you can start to discuss that. We'll just go around. Anyone can go, maybe from you, Bongan, and then Chetil and Bansu, just briefly, as your opening remarks, what freedom means to you. Because I guess your freedom meaning is different from Bansundu's freedom meaning. So let's go.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. You know, when it comes to a definition of freedom in terms of dictionary and in a normal world, freedom, it is based on individual liberty. It is based on whereby you yourself as an individual are able to claim your soul yours. To go further to that, I mean, it's whereby you are able to have rights that are accessible, not rights that are in the Constitution. For example, let's say you have a right to education, but what about accessibility of that particular right? So that's what freedom is. But to me, taking freedom into an African and South African context, understanding the history of South Africa itself, freedom to Africans supposed to be with equity, because now it's called equality. But to take me from Khayelitsha, from a very poor family, and say, let me contest with somebody who came from Falls Bay Boys School. I'm coming from Nkululeko Secondary School, whereby I used to have one teacher. You see, now you say these people are having equal opportunity, let them pay the same fees when they enter the higher institution of learning. So itself, that is not equality. So equity is saying, let Bongani pay 50 rand, let the rich one pay 150 rand, 100 rand for him, another 150 rand will add to Bongani, 100 rand, 100 rand. That's what we call equity in the simplest form.
Okay, thanks, Bongani. And also remember, guys, you can also build on what the other person is saying, you know. So it is that it's not like kind of a one-on-one dialogue, but it is a conversation. So I want to add now, but let's maybe just first go around.
You know, as
Until you can go ahead. Okay.
So what does freedom mean to me? Firstly, it means that I am worthy, you know. I am worthy and I can go out into society and unlock my fullest potential with no fear of being judged based on my race, gender, or economic background. Because remember, we don't have the power in terms of how we're born into this world, in terms of our physical appearance, but we do have the power to write our life story. So freedom basically creates a safe space for that to take place.
Actually, once soon I'll be happy actually if you can also bring something that there was a mention of access to this freedom, you know, and then also actually to access to enjoy it, but also now there is the fact that Gentle is raising an issue of we all have potentials, we have a control over our potentials, but also now there's the issue of, okay, cool, how do we come to know of those potentials? But I will leave it to you, Bansundu, to make your input and then we discuss this statement.
Okay, just to go back, to me, freedom is, like as mentioned before, it's a different thing to different people. To me, freedom is having choices. It's you choosing who you want to be the person you want to be. I always say freedom is, it's creating your own image in the world. And to add on what Chantal was saying, it's just being that person you feel like you should be and not having people judge that and not making sure other people don't influence who you become. They can inspire you to become something, but they don't influence who you are as a person to the core. So that's that. And also just to talk about the whole accessibility and attainability of freedom, it's a very difficult thing to put in words because all of us are born different and all of us, we have these different things and we all express ourselves differently. So most of the time it's just how you express yourself and the things you do. That's how people can see the type of freedom or the freedom that we have as individuals. It's just all about the way we express ourselves. And if people can understand that different people will have different expressions of freedom, then that is the first place. That's a good start. Understanding that all of us, we might be all human, but we're all unique and we're all different, and we all express things or experience things differently, even though we live in the same world.
This is quite interesting. We're just going to come back quickly on this one. So I'll also be looking on my phone just to read up some messages from Facebook. So I'm not on WhatsApp or running away from the conversation. Apologies for that. I just want to bring in others who are also watching this conversation. So we have someone who says that, I don't see his, okay, let me just start from here. Also, we have also, hi, I'm Wandile Masipa, following the conversation from Gqeberha. So you see, I'm a prophet. I did mention Gqeberha. And then it happens that there is someone watching us from that side. And also we have Kululi Nkomo from Great Town, KZN, alumni of University of Zululand. I'm also one of the recipients of bursary program during my years of studying. And also then we have someone watching from Johannesburg, CBD. So we do have people watching us. So we'd also like to hear from you guys who are watching us on Facebook. Actually, what does freedom mean to you? Because this is a conversation, but it happens that Bantu and Gentle and Bongani are the face of the conversation in this moment, you know, but we are all part of the conversation. So now what I want to bring to us, we did kind of this interpretation of what freedom means to us. And then also Bongani mentioned the meaning of freedom in terms of semantics, or in terms of how it is supposed to mean, and it's how it is written about. And then also, partner, what I really kind of saw from you, Janil and Bansundu, you spoke from your own experiences around what therefore freedom means, you know. So now I would like us to explore this question around meaning making and freedom. So now, since we have different meanings of freedom, can those meanings therefore be in conflict of actually how others experience their own freedoms? Can your meaning of freedom be in conflict with Bansundu's freedom? And then what happens when these meanings conflict each other? What does that result to? Because there are two questions. Can meanings of freedom and how we receive and experience it be in conflict with each other? You know, and also what does that give birth to? Because now, and I like that Bansundu says, no, we have different interpretations based on our lived experiences. But also we know actually the reason that we celebrate Freedom Day today, it is through pain, you know, then we attain then political freedom and so forth. So now my big question is, can these meanings be in conflict to each other? So anyone can give it a go.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I think definitely, Chair, you see, I would like to base my argument in a South African context, you see, where we are based, when we are experiencing this thing each and every day. So my argument would be based, yes, there are always, just to take this also like in a broader scope, you see, about this freedom, you see, I don't know whether like we'll go through questioning or can we just stretch it further as to also look at the structural issues that guide us to act in this particular way, that guide us to define freedom in this particular way, because there are structural issues and structural foundation that makes us to think that freedom is this thing. But my argument is based on the majority of the people. That's why I came out with a conclusion that the so-called freedom, it's not really freedom, because most of us are being excluded to the accessibility of the manner in which we want to behave or want to be. Like an example, to go back to what Gentil says here, sorry, what she says about like, it's you voicing out who you are, it's you being yourself, you see. But it's difficult in South Africa, you as an African person to be yourself. You see, what do I mean about that? We as African, like being in a country that is full of full of racism. That's a fact. I know I'm going to bring like the facts that we don't want to touch to, but we have to touch to because they are facts, you see. So it's difficult as a Black person to have that particular confidence. And make an example, you see, because a liberal would come to me and say, no, you don't have confidence, you're supposed to have confidence. Let me make a proper structural example, you see. When we grow up, we go to this education system, which for 12 years, away from where you're coming from, away from your parents, you are learning new norms and values. And that system is going through, there's what is called, it's called meritocracy, but that is negating some of the people. So we go through that particular process as we are young, since we are young. So we are being negated from ourselves. Now, that is 12 years. You start up looking at others, those so-called uneducated blacks down. Is what makes that is not, it is the education system that you are getting, but no, these ones, they are not civilized. You are civilized, Bongani, because you are educated. You are civilized. So there's a conflict. You want to act this way, but there is this structural phenomenon that you have to go through in your life. And it is sharpening you, it is socializing you, how you behave. And what role will you play in society when you come back after 15 years, when you finish the higher institution of learning? But you have to act this way, you have to be like this. This is you. So now, having such, when we come back to our societies, our thinking conflicts with other Black people. That's why you find that conflict that is happening. It's not you, but it is the system that trained you to think like that since your younger age. And it's something that we as Black people, we as Africans, it's not easy to fight it, but we have to fight it because it is what is causing division within Black people and Black communities itself. You see? So that it conflicts with the societal definition of freedom, because you come with this thinking and try to judge people who are supposed to act this way because you're westernized in a particular way. So you miss, after that, when you come back, there's that conflict between you and the so-called, I don't like to use the word, but I'm sorry to use it in inverted commas, because the people that we judge, like the illiterate in that sense. So to us, you see them like they are not making sense. So it conflicts, there's that particular conflict that is taking place. Like, let me just give space to another person.
Sure, thanks, Bongani. No, I like where you are going to, because at least we are aware that actually our meanings of freedom can be in conflict to one another. Because now what the meaning that we bring it from based on our lived experiences and also from our own socialization. Therefore, that's how then we make meaning. But also actually, as Bongani said, those meanings tend to be dominant over others. While also, can it also be argued that also those meanings and ways of being in terms of expressing freedom be oppressive to others, you know? So therefore now freedom is possibly can also form, it becomes a form of oppression. It also oppresses others. So Janil, please go, sis. I see that you wanted to add something.
Can I please add something on what Bongani said? The other thing that we need to highlight is that before you are Black, white, Indian, or Chinese, we're human. And the reason I'm saying that we're human is that we go through the same emotions. Most of us go through very similar experiences. We need family in our lives, you know, we need support, you know. So it's very, very, very important that in this freedom that we celebrate, you don't infringe on other people's right. Because as much as freedom is different for different people, there's a common thread that we all share in this freedom. There's a common thread that everyone has a right to, such as respect, such as dignity, such as many others that I could name. So let's be very sensitive in how we deal with freedom, and that, oh, I'm free because of this. But when you start infringing it towards people's dignity, now you're taking it to another level. So that is very, very important.
Yeah, just to add on what Chantal is saying about the right to human dignity, the right to life. I mean, especially in the past few months, if you turn on the news or you read on your WhatsApp or your Twitter or Facebook, whatever you're on, you would see how many people's right to life and human dignity has been taken away in the world we live in. So many LGBTQI people being killed in the past few months, looking at the number of the gender-based violence in the country, how it keeps increasing. And these are just things where if we can all treat each other as human first, then it doesn't matter how that person expresses their freedom. We just need to respect that this person is different. And to go back to what Tubongani was saying about the whole African thing is, and I get it now because we go, we learn, and you know better than before. So when we go back, it's also part of us to go back and to educate those who probably don't know as much as we do. You know, sometimes it's not that people feel this way or this is what they are, it's because they've been taught in a certain way and they don't know better, hence they act the way they do. So if we could go back and just teach people saying, no, there's this, there's that as well. There's not just one way of living life. There's no such thing of being normal. There's nothing about being normal. We all want to express ourselves the way we feel we should, and you should do the right thing, or you should do the same thing sometimes. So I totally get it. Just the whole right to life and dignity is one of those things that is very concerning. Just looking at what we hear, the bullying just a few weeks ago from the girl in the Bobo, just those small things are those what, as Gentile was mentioning, people infringing on other people's rights. And that sometimes is the biggest problem that we face in this country.
Thank you very much, Pansundu. I just want to bring in others also to this conversation. So we have Ngandolo Lwambes, who's watching from South River. And also she is saying that actually thank you for this discussion, and that is important that as young we engage in this kind of conversation. And then also Bulelo Makubalo, I think she's adding to what everyone has just said, that actually freedom is subjective. She is saying freedom is subjective. I think the most important thing is respect. No matter how free you think you are, respect yourself and then respect those who are around you. And then also we have Sanele Mkhize, who says that actually freedom shouldn't be constrained to the country's constitution, because we don't all start from equal grounds, and to economic freedom is also vitally important to us. So those are some of the comments that we are having there. And also that I see that there are over 20 people who are watching us on Facebook at this time as I read this message. So I hope more will join and also add their comments. So what I want you to bring again, your points are very important and also so much amazing. I like that you also have diversity, even in views, you know, and also which means that is also what is important, that also we should also embrace different opinions at the same time. But now I want to bring three things together. The issue of freedom and responsibility, which is what I saw starting to come in this conversation. So therefore, then what is our responsibility as people who experience or embody this and also perform this freedom? What is our responsibility? Because now if we say, we all agree that actually our freedoms can be in conflict to other people's freedoms, you know, but now Gentil brought again the issue of rights, that everybody has right to dignity, respect, and then also that we are all humans and all that. And also Bongani says that actually our socialization, it is also responsible for that infringement. Because now you start to think that actually now there is also a hierarchy of freedoms, that the other freedom is important over the other. Can we explore responsibility and freedom? How does those things together work? And also making reference to other things that guide us to exercise those freedoms.
Thanks, Madosi. Because I don't know, first I think I have to answer you because I have a follow-up. It's not a question, but I need to comment to both Pansundu and Gentle. I don't know whether I should comment first and then carry on with the responsibility. Okay.
I think first comment so that we don't lose it, and then you do then the responsibility part.
No, let me comment first, because Pansundu is speaking about the value of life, right to dignity, right to self-determination, you see, that's what I believe. However, Pansundu is speaking about the violence that LGBTQ society that getting this country is right. He's speaking about the violence women are getting is right. Now, to me, as we as young people, we have to interrogate what are the causes of that. Let's not just we know the problem, but what is the causes and how do we dissect this particular structural issue? You see, because yes, we're also all human. However, there is an underlying things, which is a structure or the base that makes all this violence take place. The first thing I'm going to argue using statistics that we see every day. If we can see these people are dying every day, who are those people? Where are those people living? What is their socioeconomic status? What led them to those conjectured places? They kill itself because of minimum resources. As science used to say, when you put 50 people in one place, let them be congested. That's what's called, it's a apartheid geospatial planning. That is still happening today. Those who are doing architecture, I'm going to tell you, that's what they are still learning. The education system, they're still learning that thing till today. So that is what's happening. That's why most of these, they are happening in townships. Who's staying in townships is the African people. Why they are staying there? It's because they're excluded to the economy. What made them to be excluded to the economy is because of the historical injustices that took place at the time. So we must look at a broader picture as to what makes these things happen. That's a fact. Because we'd be lying if we are saying, no, let's take an umbrella approach to all human beings. Let's live nice. Well, we've been since 1994 trying to live nice, but let's face the facts. That's why we're a higher institution of learning to dissect. What is the problem? That's our role. From here to go and bring solution to the problems that are in the townships. There's no problem in suburbs. Give me one problem in Constantia. What is the problem? They have electricity, they have water, they have value to life, they have safety, they have right to dignity. There is no right to dignity and safety in the township. Go now to Mfuleni. There is no right, there's no safety. You see, your value of, if you look at the value of life in terms of safety and dignity, then Black people do not meet that criteria, those who are congested. Every time when you pass by, you wake up alive in Kailicha, you must say, thank you, God, disappear. Because you wake up, somebody is killed. You wake up, somebody was, you see all these traumatic things that are happening where there's congestion. So that's why we were saying, I'm speaking about majority, because you can't use minority, even in your research, you can never use minority and say, no, let's judge like this. It's scientifically incorrect. It is academically wrong. So that's why we are saying majority is African people. That's the fact. When I'm talking about African people, I'm talking about us, colors in the broader scope, not a narrow view. You see, that's a broader scope of those who are dispossessed, of those who are poor. So that's why we are saying freedom, it's limited there. And their definition of freedom and being affected and keep on explaining them their sexuality is because of these things. You see. Yeah, let me go to the responsibilities. Oh, okay.
No, you got, you were frozen at some point. Yeah, so I was just checking in with you. But yeah, you can go to responsibility. Thanks, bro.
Oh, thanks. I thought I was eating time. That's why I said, okay, let me just go to responsibility. We'll engage some other time. So now, going to these freedoms we get, because I have to say that I don't like to use the word privilege, but in a sense, because when I was staying at Kasi, like in townships, I didn't know the things that I know. I was not exposed to the readings that I'm exposed to. I didn't know, like I didn't look at the facts. I used to take an umbrella approach, but I know it's like this. So obvious, just work hard, you'll make it. But when I look at the structural issues, but no, you as Bora, since you are here and acquire this education, what role do you play to make sure you give back to that particular society? Because you can't keep on pointing problems. That's why we enter to the tutoring programs, to go back and give back. So that to elevate, this is the only hope we have, education now. This is the only hope, although majority of graduates are unemployed. But currently, this is the only hope. But at least let me try and fight it in a degree. Let me try and fight it something at least, than just sitting and say, so the little that we have of I myself, I give back, I go and tutor, I go to high schools, I tutor, I've been in tutor, even university, trying to tutor. So to make sure at least we try to elevate them also. You know that if you tutor two, that two will tutor another two, that two will tutor another two. So majority of those disenfranchised people, they'll come back and they'll also give back to the society, try to, maybe one day we'll boost each other to the economy will be inclusive. Because as we speak currently, JC, more than 90% is the capital. It's the white monopoly capital, can't run away. That's 90%. Only few black businesses who are there. And also, they are also struggling. You see, so that's why we are saying it is our responsibility to go and give back. It is our responsibility to motivate others also to do more while we know the structural issue, instead of sitting down and say, let's just sit down. You see, which means we will be like, won't be responsible citizens. So yeah, I think that's my 2 cents.
No, thank you. In Vansundu?
Yeah, can I just on something that Ubongani said, sorry, Jen,
Okay.
on something that Ubongani said is, I feel like sometimes it's also as people, we just have to be very careful of our opinions and our thoughts, right? When he mentioned the whole thing of Campspear and all of that, we always have to keep in mind, we are the product of where we come from. And most of the things and most of our views that we would always express will be of what we see around us. But I know for a fact, just because people live in suburbs, it doesn't mean they don't face the same human problems we face. Because these problems are not just a black problem, they're not a colored problem, they're not a white problem, they're universal problems. They universal things that people face. Just because someone is sitting in a big house where it's surrounded by walls, it doesn't mean they can't be a victim of gender-based violence, or they can't be a victim of a thing that will happen in society. So they might come in different ways, but at the end of the day, it's the same problem. But to go back to the responsibility thing without taking too much time, for people who study medicine, there's a saying that they always tell them is, see one, do one, teach one. So you see something, you do it, and then after you're done, you teach one, hoping that that one person will teach others as well. So just to go back to responsibility and to touch on what Ubongani was saying is, we have to also play our parts. But the biggest thing when it comes to responsibility is just us being very careful and being very vigilant on how we exercise the freedoms that we have, because we don't want to exercise our freedom, but then we are infringing other people's freedoms. So for me, the biggest responsibility we have is be careful how you exercise your freedom without stepping on someone else's toe. So that's the biggest thing for me. Jen?
I just
Sorry,
want
Gentle,
to...
just quickly before you come, sorry, Gentle, but Bansuni, what I'm not hearing from you, it is how then we become careful, so that we don't. Because also, it is good to know that we need to be careful, we need to be respectful, but the how part, then how do we practically do what you are suggesting? I'm sorry, Gentle, I just wanted us to wrap that point, then come to you.
So the easiest thing for me, and I think I mentioned this yesterday as well, is us as human beings, we need to go back to the core or to the basics of being humans, the spirit of Ubuntu, to bring those things back. We need to know how to treat people. I think that's the biggest problem we have. When we learn how to treat people, or to treat people the way we would like to be treated, that would be one way of us knowing that I'm not going to be able to do this, because if someone would do it to me, I wouldn't like it, so let me not do it to someone else. So that's where I'm going, is when you practice your freedom, do it the same way that you would want other people to receive it. And you don't do other things that if Umalusi said something to me, I would be offended by, but here I go saying those things to other people, hoping that they won't get offended. So that's where I'm going. It's just to bring back that spirit of Ubuntu, how we treat people, because it doesn't matter what color we are, where we come from. At the end of the day, Jen mentioned it, we're all human. So we just need to treat humans like humans. And if we can do that, then most of the problems we face in this world would mostly disappear, I feel.
No, thank you very much. Thank you, Bansun. Ubuntu, back to basics. Gentle, does this one come through?
Yes, I would just actually want to mention something to Bongani about why I stated why it is important to address issues on a human level. A lot of the issues that we have, such as racism, Afrophobia, which is the fear of other African people, Black African people from other African countries. What is the other one? racism, Afrophobia, and there's one that I'm missing. A lot of that comes from a place of fear. So why do you fear something? Because you don't have enough information about it, you know? So in order for us to address such issues, we need to dissect why people think the way they think. Or the other one that I wanted to mention was colorism within the Black community, where we hate each other according to the complexion of our skin, you know? So in order for me to address it, I need to look at the situation and be like, okay, this is Tandisa, not the light-skinned girl. I need to look at the situation as this is James, not the white guy. So we need to understand why people think the way they think. Why do they feel the way they feel? And once we dissect that, we're going to have better issues within our society and communities as a whole. So that's why I'm very, very, very strong on the belief that when we're addressing issues, we actually look at it from a human level. So, okay, moving on to responsibilities. I would say the responsibility would have to be through paying it forward, you know, such as I've taken initiative where I've got some people come to me and ask me, can you please help me to draw up a CV? Now I've got knowledge about how a CV should be written out. I take the initiative and I help her out. I've had a high school child come through and be like, I've got this assignment. I don't know what's happening. The English is a barrier. Can you please help me out? I take it through and I help them out. So the only way for you to show responsibility is by paying it forward. And sometimes paying it forward doesn't mean going big, you know, do it within your little space amongst the people around you. And trust me, it becomes a trickle effect, you know, and a learning curve for those around you.
Thank you very much. Part of this conversation, the theme is freedom to learn. And I'm happy that actually in this conversation, we are also, I believe for me, I am learning a lot of things, you know. And also I like the point that are coming up actually, even from Bongani to Bansunu to Eugene, is that actually, well, for us to take responsibility, someone said earlier on that, okay, we then went to study, you know, and then we came out of election. Then we get exposed to other ways of being, and also we attain knowledge, then we go back and also actually hand over that to other people so that they can also then come forward, all those kind of things, which is very much important. But now also what is coming out in this conversation is again an issue of understanding things, you know, because now Bongani believes that the problem is that one, and then the other person believes it is that one, you know. But the issue also, it is part of a responsibility. How can we therefore use education, you know, to empower each other and also even our brothers and sisters and basically even the society? Because again, now it appears that actually knowledge is power when practiced or exercised, you know. But now what I would like us to explore now as part of responsibility, how do we use education actually, whether to free ourselves from the ways that we think, and also actually acknowledging actually we think in these particular ways because we've been made to believe that it is correct to think in this way. But now then how do we use education? You know, whether it is as a process of unlearning and learning and also building societies. So how can we use education as part of therefore taking freedom forward, you know, and also we think that Bongani, you mentioned that structural issues, how do we use education to help our people learn and understand what is the effect of those things that we've identified as problems. And anyone can start. You are mute, Bongs.
Oh, okay. So I don't know whether I hear the question properly. Can you please repeat the question, please?
Sure. So how do we use education as part of using this freedom that we have defined, and also how to use education to also unlearn? Remember what we said that sometimes our freedoms infringe on other people's rights, right? And then also we said that as part of being responsible or responsibility, we used to pay it forward, you know? So now they're saying then how then we use education to do all those kind of things, whether to educate those whom we think are not free yet because of their thinking or understanding of things, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Malusi, Chairperson. Look, as we've said, Chairperson, you see, because especially South Africa, we have diverse views. You see, and we are diverse by nature. You see, and history, by the way. So now, us as people who acquired, you see, this knowledge, I'd like to use inverted commas so that I do not offend other people. You see, it's upon us to participate in these dialogues that we have. Now the world is we're in the fourth industrial revolution. Everyone is on social media, majority. You see, even a grade A child, on a phone about daily, there's something they can connect to the world. You see, it's important to engage within dialogues in those topics. It's important, for example, to engage on the issue of patriarchy, because South Africa is a patriarchal society. It's issues that we can't run away from. You see, so it's because if you are patriarchal, you're infringing another person because the way you're going to act, the way you're going to do things. That is why we see many problems, as Mansud has just mentioned. That's why I said it's a structural issue, many problems, because you can say, for example, don't do this, but if we do not change the structure that makes them do those things, only one person will change, but the majority will still be patriarchal and do the same thing. You see, soon, we've been mourning one of our brother, one of our sisters. You see, we saw the violence. That's why there was a march to Parliament to say stop LGBTQ violence, stop violence against them. You see, because that's what they do. You see, that's why I said I totally agree. But there's this structural issue, this patriarchy is there that needs to be unlocked, because it's a myth if we can say people are not educated. Every day, this thing was on TV. Every day when people are saying, but no, guys, stop. Why are you acting like this? People know this, what they're doing is wrong. But it's us to keep on unlocking. Because you go now to a village and look there, you'll see what you're going, like the different thinking. I don't know whether you get my point. The different thing, how they perceive the world, how they perceive how you should act, how they perceive how you should be. You see, in Mary, I'm talking like in a more traditional place. Let me put it that way. You see, like more, I don't want to use that word backward, but a more patriarchal places. And then you'll find out people start to be violent because that patriarch is being installed to their minds since they were young. So they're being growing with this self-hatred, because it's self-hatred. Because you can't, when you see another person attack another person, that's self-hatred. You see, so those are the issues that need to be unlocked. So to make sure that we use this, and it's our responsibility to use the knowledge that we have to keep on saying, look, the problem is not on surface, because now we look at things at surface value. That's a fact. That's why when you speak about serious things like racism, you'll be told to other places, no, don't mention that. But when to go in academic space, they'll know education about provoke, as long as you put facts. You see, let's not try to nurse people's feelings. Let's nurse facts. That's the most important. That's why we're here in education. That's why people are having different theses, because it's about provocation, state facts. What is happening? What is the problem? You see?
Bongani, I'm interested on that. You say that we should unlock, patriarchy, dismantle all those kind of things, and you're raising issue of socialization as a contributor to therefore how we tend to perform these ways of being, whether patriarchy or maybe discrimination. But now what you are not getting to is therefore now, what do we do to unlock, and also where do we start and when, this is a line again around this issue of education, because you are saying that in the university, you are taught actually to argue with facts, and also it is okay to argue with facts, but also now you make a comparison to someone who's in the village, who his worldview is different, maybe from you in terms of how you see the world. But now, what are those tools that we need to use, or we should be using to unlock all these things that you are referring to? And anyone actually can also respond, but Bongani, then we can go back to others.
Hey, can I respond? Thanks. Oh, okay, you want to respond? Okay.
Oh, okay, thanks, Shen. You see, Chair, that's the most important part. You see, how do we then, since all of us have known the problems, how do we then come together and say, here's a solution? Because there isn't a single solution to these problems. There are diverse solutions. For example, if we're speaking about the education one, because it's based on, there's a theory called functionalism. It's based on that functionalism. You see, that's where socialization takes place through that theory of functionalism. But since they are from young, you have to act, you have to be like, you have to obey the rules. Don't question the teacher. Don't question this. I'm not saying people should question the teacher, but I'm just trying to give like a certain perspective of how functionalism starts, how it is starting, but keep on accepting the norms, because this is what the society wants from you. Act like this, behave like this. That's why some of us who are here, because we're looking at a bigger view to deal with the policies of education. That's where we want to be, to deal with the policies, because that's where they implement. Because first they make policies and then say, no, this is right. Now let's go and implement it to the schools. When they are young, from the crèche, let's make sure that they live like this. Let's make sure that like their minds, their thinking, it's like this. And also the same theory is based on patriarchy itself. You see, it's based on patriarchy. But now the thing is that you'll have few writers who are writing about this, because the education is still this westernized. They're only through the colonial scholars who are writing about this. You see, because it takes intensive research to research about these things. And also those who have such powers, those who are in power of these policies it's not easy for them to allow you to deal with, like to unlock, because they are benefiting from such. I don't know whether I've answered you.
Yeah, what I'm picking up from you again is the issue around the socialization, you know, and then also the big thing that you mentioned is that, again, at the policy level, you know, because again, it is with policy that says, okay, the curriculum should be this way. And the way, therefore, we teach our children is then how they will come out of the system. So therefore, it is important that we also work with the education system itself, you know, and then perhaps it should encourage critical thinking. So that's part of the thing that I'm gathering from what you are saying. Gentlemen, you wanted to say something long
Yes,
ago.
I wanted to say something. Another thing, the two main things that we need to do, you know, as a way of taking responsibility is, first of all, we need to speak out. Second of all is accountability. You know, when I say speak out, is that when we see things happening within our family structures or our friend circles that we know are not right, you know, that we know are infringing on other people, please say something, because we have a whole lot of situations where you have friends and you have a friend that you know is involved in gender-based violence, and you telling me that that's a friend. You yourself know what's right. You yourself would never do that, but you walk around with a friend, and the friend will sit there and tell you every day of how they beat up their woman, they beat up their wife, and you think that's okay. That's wrong. And you are actually contributing to the problem than you think, because you could have saved a life in that situation. You know, you could have educated someone in that situation and changed their life. So speaking out and accountability is a big part of taking responsibility, because as one person, it's very hard to say that we can change the world, but we can actually change the people within our life, and as a result, create a trickle effect that will make a better world, you know? So I've even come up with some solutions. So these are the 3 solutions that I've come up with, you know, in terms of our education system. The first one is mentorship programs. We need to have mentorship programs within our schools. And when I say that, I don't say having a mentor that comes to the school once a year and gives you a brief about different career paths. No, I'm talking about an assigned mentor in each and every grade that is accessible throughout the year. You can easily seek advice from them. You can easily ask questions about a particular field that you're interested in, and they can actually come and do talks at the school more often than just a once-off thing, you know? That's very important, because a lot of people actually are interested in certain career paths, but they don't have accessibility. They don't know even what to expect within the career. They haven't even seen someone that looks like them within that career path. I have access to it because I have internet, I've got Wi-Fi. So I know that there's a particular engineer out there. I know that there's a particular lawyer out there doing the things and doing it for themselves. But what about the child who doesn't have access to that? What happens then? Moving on to my second one. The next one that we need to have is that we need to have an integrated LO curriculum. Now, everyone's done LO. I did LO. So what happens is that LO basically gives you an outline about life. So we're going to talk about feelings. We're going to talk about family, but the narrative has to shift. We need to have an LO curriculum that talks about gender-based, about mental issues. We need to have an LO curriculum that talks about the different family structures and how that influences kids within their respective situations. Then have those programs that are going to progress according to the different grades, you know? So a grade 1 LO curriculum is going to start at a level in which they can understand. But once you get to grade 7, you know, it's a bit more advanced. And we need to be detailed in these topics. We need to have like statistics on there. We need to have graphics. We need to give it all, because a lot of our kids are growing up in these environments and they don't know how to solve it. They don't know how to deal with it. You know, what do I do if I'm in an instance whereby my mom's being abused every day? What do I do where I feel like I'm being bullied every day? And the current curriculum just gives a brief outline of everything, not in depth. So the LO curriculum needs to change with the times to deal with the situations that a lot of our kids are finding themselves in. The third one, the last one, is that we need to have better accessibility to different information. Can we start implementing Wi-Fi access within rural areas? Can we start having Wi-Fi routers within the townships? You know, let's give them access to what they need. And once I say Wi-Fi, I know that some people are going to be like, oh, people are not going to be using it for study materials. They're going to go onto YouTube or they're going to go onto social media. We need to have a restrictive system that only allows kids access to educational material. But what's important is that these kids need access. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those suggested solutions that you are providing. And again, issue around access and also actually education. Because again, I like what you're saying about, okay, having someone that for you, you know, who can give you access to other things that you can access to. And again, it always go back to that thing of paying it forward. That was also mentioned earlier. Bansundu, I will give you now, and also I will also give you to also make your closing remarks, you know, because now we are approaching that hour. So you can respond in terms of what you think we need to do, and then also and then we'll go around to everyone to do closing remarks. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, just to add on what the others have said, I think it's also important that we know that representation and visibility is something that is very important. Not to go back on the same issues, but to try and dwell on other things as well. When you spoke about responsibility, one thing I thought of, and I mean, sorry, when you spoke about the relationship between education and freedom, I thought of most people would obviously think with education comes freedom. But we need to know when we speak of education, we're not speaking of people, books, and what you learn at school. It's the things we see on TV. It's the things that we hear on radio. So hence I say representation and visibility is very important. To take an example of when you look at what the world considered beauty standards, right? With Zozibini winning the whole Miss Universe thing, now that has changed and that has created a whole new conversation. When you look at shows on TV that represent the world we live in today, where there are those LGBTQI characters, it also creates a conversation for those kids who are sitting at home and they don't know who they are or what they are, but now they get to see it and people get to see it as well, and they get to understand at the end of the day, we're all human. So when we speak of education, we need to understand it's not people just going to school. It's all the things they see on TV, the conversations people have around. If you don't know about something, there's nothing wrong with asking. If you don't understand what homosexuality is, ask. Don't assume and then take your assumption to be that's this and this is why this is wrong. So we just have to create that as well, just people being able to see these things and to hear about it, and then it will also create what we all want to live in a normal world. So it's just, it's very important that we as humans, we just learn to ask when we don't understand of something. And I think that's the whole response, that's the whole relationship between freedom and education. Just because you might have a degree in this doesn't mean you want to know everything else. So when you don't know those things that you don't know, don't be afraid to ask. I think that's just one of the things I wanted to just point out today, is people asking when they don't understand, because there's nothing wrong with Ubantu having his internal audit degree, but he's not going to know everything else that happens in the world. So when I don't know something, I shouldn't be afraid to ask. And hopefully the people that you do ask are able to give you answers and insight that makes you understand, and we can treat each other better. So yeah, you mentioned something. So you also mentioned something regarding just closing remarks, I guess, right? So for me, it's just the one thing is, how can we also just use our freedom to empower others is one of the things that comes to mind. And as we've been having this conversation, one of the things that I just wish that we could have is, if we could live in a world or in a country where the education that Gentile and Bongan is talking about is accessible to everyone, that would be the first step, that we could use those freedoms, because everyone has a right to freedom, a right to life. We have so many rights as per the Bill of Rights. If we can use those to get people to learn, to get kids into school, but there's so many obstacles as well that are along the way. Kids having to travel distances, some girls when it's that time of the month, that can't go to school because of no sanitary pads. If we can get rid of all these factors that are barriers to education, then it would be a big start in the fight towards people empowering themselves and empowering their education. That will lead to that freedom that we want, that freedom that we think we have, which to me at the moment is a reality. It's still an idea, not a reality yet. So hopefully, I wish that is a good conclusion to what I wanted to say.
No, thank you very much, Bansundu. That is amazing. As you are about to do your closing remarks, I'll be happy also to hear you. What are you committing from this conversation? Gently, you said that to us. Well, it doesn't have to be 100 people. It could be people around you, by speaking up, by also mentoring someone. So as Gentle yourself, what are you committing to make sure that actually we protect this freedom? Also actually we have more what Bongan referred to as tools to unlock, whether it's patriarchy or all these forms of things that actually are pulling us backwards. So what are you committing to do going forward? And then also, what is your closing remark? We can start with you, whomever wants to start between the two of you, Gentle and Bongan. Yeah. Okay, go for it, Bongan, and then Gentle will come after you. So it's commitment and also closing remarks.
Okay, thanks, Jay. I think first I should thank like HCI Foundation for creating such platforms. You see, for young people to keep on like exploring different ideas, you see, different perspective about freedom, and not only freedom, but education, and keep on inspiring. It is very, very important. You see, and we need more such foundation and platforms so that we can explore, because it's where we find solution. When there are many different perspectives, is where you come together and find solution for the betterment of the society that we are in. Lastly, my commitment has always been there. I think I'll keep on this, the one of educating. I'll keep on the one of trying to fight for others to for accessibility of education. Not only accessibility of education, and also keep on to assist where we can, to share the knowledge where we can, to share the geography that we're specializing on, for example, to keep on going the you see, maybe that's a field that some of us are specializing on, even if they can wake you up at 3, you see. And also to keep on like the issue of commitment, and also the issue of seeing a future beyond this, but there's a better future, as Mansoon has just said. So because I have, although I'm disappointed, but I have hope. We can't be a hopeless generation. We have hope, but we are the generation to change this, what is happening, and also to usher in a democracy that will allow us to call ourselves ours. Thanks, sir.
I commit myself as a young Black woman in 2021 to give 110% in whatever career space I find myself in, because I'm more than my looks. I have a lot to offer, and I'm gonna unapologetically take control. So yeah, that's what I commit myself to doing. And my last closing statement would be, let's take up spaces, let's create spaces, and let's be kind to each other. A lot of people are going through a lot in this world, so please be kind and helpful towards whoever you come across.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I hope you are not saying that I'm unfair because I didn't ask you for a commitment. Do you have a commitment, or what should we do?
Okay, I think the commitment that I can.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And thanks to everyone who has been following us on Facebook. We have okay. You can go, Mansoon. I think I'm delayed this side.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the one commitment that I can make is just to commit that I, from this conversation and what Ubongani and Gentile or Jean-Tia have been saying, is I commit to being a better human. I think we all need to understand. I think Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. Before we want to see other people doing that change, we need to start doing it ourselves. So I need to commit to myself being that person who is willing to change. And it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be a long process. And it's a process that I think I'm willing to take. And hopefully it doesn't take longer than I expect it to take, but it's a process. And yeah, that's my commitment.
I like Mansoon, you have chosen like a very safe commitment. Thank you very much, everyone. We won't keep anyone any longer. So it's a goodbye from us. So we hope this is just a beginning of a conversation, but a conversation without an action is not good enough. So I hope when you are following us, also you're going to make some commitment. Maybe actually, if you are still on the call, just write on the chat box, actually, what are you committing? Gentile, Mansoon, Dibongan have made commitments. So what about you? What are you committing? On my side, I'm committing actually to make sure that I also, in my community, continue opening up a space for young people to learn and learn as much as they can, and also actually not impose my idea, but also allowing them to choose what is it that they want to learn. So thank you very much, everyone. We have come to an end of our conversation, and this platform was organized by the HSI Foundation And also it would have not been easy or possible without Bansundu, Chanchal and Bongani and others who have also been part of this conversation. So, Chanchal and Bongs, thank you very much for your time and also for your views and opinions. So it's a goodbye. It's a goodbye.
Thank you.